Your story is your power. Every step you've taken, every mistake you've made, every victory you've tasted, it has shaped you into who you are right now. And whether you realize it or not, your story is the most valuable asset you possess. It's not just a sequence of events, it's the evidence of your growth, your resilience, your ability to survive the storms life threw at you. It's the sum of all the nights you stayed awake fighting your fears, the mornings you woke up even when you didn't feel like it, the times you stood back up after falling so hard you thought you'd never recover. That journey, with all its pain and beauty, is what makes you unique in a world where everyone is trying to blend in. You may think your story is ordinary because you've lived it every day, but to someone else, the lessons you carry could be the exact spark they need to change their own life. But here's the truth many people don't realize. When you share your story with just anyone, you are giving them access to the deepest parts of yourself. You are opening a door into your heart, your struggles, your motivations. That's not a small thing. Think about it. We don't give strangers the keys to our home because that space is sacred, personal, and filled with what we value most. Your story is the same. Once it's in the wrong hands, it can be misused, misunderstood, or even manipulated. And the damage caused by that can be deeper than you expect. People might take your vulnerabilities and turn them into weapons. They might judge you, gossip about you, or try to rewrite your narrative to fit their perception of you. Your story is also your leverage in life. It's what sets you apart in a conversation, in a business deal, in a competition. It's the quiet advantage you have when people underestimate you because they have no idea what you've been through or how much you've overcome. Think of it like a rare gemstone hidden deep inside a mountain. When it's still in the earth, untouched and unseen, it's safe. It has potential. The moment it's dug out and shown to the wrong buyer, it can be undervalued, dismissed, or stolen. But if it's revealed at the right time, to the right audience, it becomes priceless. And here's the thing, your story is not just about the past, it's also about the power it gives you in the present. Every challenge you faced has left you with tools you didn't have before. Maybe it's the ability to read people more accurately. Maybe it's the courage to make a decision others are too afraid to make. Maybe it's the wisdom to walk away from situations that don't serve you. All of these tools came from living your story. They are the invisible armor you wear, the quiet confidence that allows you to keep going when others would quit. This is why your story isn't something you should hand out carelessly. It's a resource. It's energy. And if you give it away without thinking, you might find yourself running out of the very strength you've spent years building. Most people don't protect their story because they don't realize how powerful it is. They confuse openness with strength, thinking that the more they share, the more respected they'll be. But respect doesn't come from telling everyone every detail. It comes from living in such a way that your actions speak louder than your explanations. The mystery of your journey is part of what gives it value. People are drawn to strength they can sense but cannot fully understand because it makes them curious. And curiosity makes them listen when you finally choose to speak. Your story is your power because it is yours alone. No one else has walked in your shoes exactly the way you have. No one else has felt your pain in the exact depth you have experienced it, nor have they celebrated victories in the same way you have. This uniqueness is your competitive edge, your identity, and your proof that you can face what's ahead. But like any source of power, it must be handled with intention, guarded with wisdom, and shared with precision. You do not owe your story to everyone, but you do owe it to yourself to know its worth. Not all listeners have good intentions. This is one of the hardest lessons to learn, because deep down, most of us want to believe that people are kind, that when we open up about our dreams and struggles, the person listening is rooting for us. But reality is different. Some people listen not because they care, but because they are curious. And curiosity is not the same as support. They might be listening because they're collecting information, silently comparing themselves to you, or even waiting for an opportunity to see if you stumble. They may smile in your face, nod with interest, and say the right words, but in their mind, they could already be planting seeds of doubt or making mental notes of your weaknesses. The truth is, when you share your plans or your hardships with someone who doesn't have your best interests at heart, you give them power over you. You give them knowledge they can use to slow you down, discourage you, or even sabotage you. This doesn't always happen in obvious ways. It can be subtle, a small comment that chips away at your confidence, a raised eyebrow that makes you second guess yourself, a friendly warning disguised as concern that makes you hesitate when you should be moving forward. These moments might seem small, but they have a way of lingering in your mind. Before you know it, you start to question your ability, not because you lack talent, but because someone with hidden motives planted doubt in your heart. Some listeners are motivated by jealousy. They may not even admit it to themselves, but your ambition, your vision, or even your courage to try something new can trigger their insecurities. Instead of being inspired, they feel threatened. And when people feel threatened, they often respond by trying to keep you from moving ahead, not always by blocking you outright, but by weakening your belief in yourself. The most dangerous kind of opposition is not loud, it's quiet. It's the silence that follows your exciting news. It's the faint smile that doesn't reach their eyes. It's the sudden change of topic when your success is mentioned. Then there are those who simply enjoy having access to other people's lives. They treat your personal story as entertainment, something to discuss when you're not around. Every detail you give them becomes a piece of gossip, twisted and passed around until it barely resembles the truth. And once your story is out there, you can't control how it's told. You might think you're just sharing an update, but to someone else, it's a headline for their next conversation. This is how reputations get shaped by people who don't have the full picture. And once an image you is formed in someone's mind, it's hard to change it. It's also worth remembering that some people listen with the intention of using your information for their advantage. In competitive environments, whether in business, sports, or even within families, the details you reveal can become tools for others to outmaneuver you. A challenge you admit to facing today might become the exact point they target tomorrow. A weakness you casually confess could be the thing they highlight when opportunities arise. The sad reality is that not everyone will cheer when you win, and not everyone will be neutral when you lose. Some will quietly root for your failure because it makes them feel more secure in their own position. You might ask, then how do I know who I can trust? The truth is, you can't always know immediately. People reveal themselves over time through patterns of behavior, through consistency, through the way they respond when you succeed and the way they act when you struggle. But what you can control is how much of your inner world you expose too early. By observing first, by holding back key parts of your story until you've seen someone's true character, you protect yourself from the hidden intentions that can so easily derail your progress. And here's something else to think about. Intentions are invisible. You can't look into someone's face and read their heart. A warm smile might hide resentment. A kind word might conceal envy. An offer to help might actually be an attempt to interfere. This is why being selective with your words is not about being paranoid. It's about being wise. Once your vision is clear and your path is strong, you can choose to share with those who have proven their loyalty. Until then, protecting your story is not selfish. It's survival. Speaking too soon weakens your momentum. Many people don't realize that the moment you speak your dreams out loud to the wrong audience, you start to drain some of the very energy that you need to make them happen. A dream in its early stages is fragile. It's like a spark, tiny, delicate, but full of potential. That spark can become a fire if you protect it, feed it, and guard it from the wind. But when you share it too early, you open it to the harsh breeze of other people's doubts, opinions, and judgments. And sometimes, even a single careless comment can be enough to blow that spark out before it becomes anything more. There's something powerful about working in silence. When your vision is still taking shape in your mind, you are building a connection to it, creating belief in it, and strengthening your commitment to it. But the moment you start talking about it, you begin to experience a strange psychological trick. You feel as though you've already achieved something just by saying it. Your brain gives you a small rush of satisfaction, the same way it does when actually make progress. That little hit of pride can feel good in the moment, but it can also rob you of the hunger that pushes you to take action. You start to feel accomplished before you've done the hard work, and slowly your drive fades. And it's not just about your own psychology. It's also about the influence of other people. When you reveal your plans too early, you invite opinions you didn't ask for and advice you don't need. You'll hear things like, "That's going to be really hard. Are you sure you can do that?" Or, "I know someone who tried that and failed." Even if you're confident, those words have a way of lodging themselves in the back of your mind, ready to resurface the moment you hit a challenge. Instead of facing obstacles with clarity and determination, you'll find yourself second, guessing, wondering if those people were right. Momentum is built in private. Think about an athlete training for a big competition. They don't call a press conference after their first day in the gym to announce what they're doing. They train quietly, consistently day after day, until their performance speaks for itself. Every repetition, every early morning, every sacrifice adds to their momentum. But if they spent all that energy explaining their plan to people who couldn't understand it, they'd lose time, focus, and the mental edge needed to win. The same applies to your goals. When you keep them to yourself in the beginning, you allow your vision to grow in an environment free from unnecessary interference. You create a safe space where you can fail privately, adjust without pressure, and try again without anyone's judgment. Those private struggles are essential because they are where you learn the most about yourself and your path. Once you've gained enough strength, skill, and resilience, you'll be far more prepared to face whatever the world has to say. There's also a certain magic in surprising people. When you speak too soon, you remove the element of surprise, and with it, the advantage of showing up unexpectedly with something remarkable. When people don't see you coming, they can't prepare to stop you, and they can't quietly undermine you along the way. But when you announce your every move, you give others time to form opinions, plans, and even opposition. The truth is, not everyone will try to stop you directly. Some will just wait for you to fail so they can say, "I told you so." You have to remember that momentum is not just about speed. It's about direction, focus, and protection. The early stage of any journey is the most vulnerable, just like the first sprout of a seed is the easiest to crush. When you protect your momentum, you give yourself the chance to build strength under the surface, so that when you finally rise into view, nothing can easily knock you down. And sometimes, that means resisting the urge to share your progress until it has grown strong enough to stand on its own. Silence builds strength. There is a certain power in holding back your words, in keeping your plans and struggles tucked quietly inside while you continue to work. Silence is not the absence of action. In fact, it's often where the most important actions happen. The world we live in is loud. Everyone is talking, posting, updating, and broadcasting their every move. In a culture obsessed with constant exposure, choosing silence is an act of discipline. It's the decision to focus on building rather than broadcasting, on strengthening the foundation rather than decorating the surface. When you remain silent about your goals, you create an environment where your energy is directed entirely toward progress, not performance. You're not distracted by explaining yourself, defending your choices, or answering unnecessary questions. Every ounce of your effort goes in the work itself, and over time, that undisturbed effort compounds into something powerful. It's like a seed planted deep in the soil. It grows quietly, unseen, pushing its roots deeper and deeper, preparing for the moment it will break through the surface. The roots are your strength, and in the quiet, they grow stronger than anyone could imagine. Silence also protects your mental space. The fewer voices you allow into your process, the less cluttered your mind becomes. Opinions, even well-meaning ones, can dilute your clarity. They can make you doubt the path you've chosen or tempt you to change your course before you've given it the chance to work. But in silence, you train yourself to trust your own instincts, to listen to your inner voice without interference. You learn to problem solve independently, and that self-reliance becomes a source of confidence that no one can take away from you. Strength is not built in the spotlight, it's built in the shadows. Think about the most physically strong people in the world: athletes, soldiers, performers. The real transformation doesn't happen on stage or during competition. It happens during the early mornings when no one is watching, in the late nights when no one is clapping, in the repetitions done in empty rooms where no praise is given. The discipline they develop in those private moments is what allows them to stand tall when the pressure is on. In the same way, your private, Silent work shapes you into someone who can stand in the face of challenges without breaking. Silence also makes you unpredictable. In a world where everyone is constantly announcing their next move, the person who moves quietly becomes harder to read, harder to stop, harder to prepare against. When people can't anticipate your actions, they can't plan to block you. They can't spread rumors about what you're trying to do, because they don't know. They're left guessing, and in that uncertainty, you have the advantage. Your silence becomes a shield, allowing you to maneuver freely without unnecessary resistance. There is also something deeply empowering about not needing validation for every step you take. Many people share their progress because they crave reassurance. They want someone to tell them they're on the right track. But when you learn to move without seeking that validation, you become stronger because your motivation comes from within. You no longer depend on applause to keep going, and you're no longer discouraged when applause doesn't come. You move because the goal matters to you, not because the world is watching. Silence is not about hiding forever. It's about building in private, so that when you finally step into the light, you're not fragile, you're unshakable. You've done the work without distraction, without interference, without relying on constant encouragement. And that kind of strength, the kind earned in the quiet, is the strength that lasts, because it's not borrowed from anyone else. It's built from your own persistence, your own focus, and your own belief in what you're creating. Proof through results, not just words. Words are easy, they cost nothing to say, and in the moment, they can make you feel powerful. You can tell people your plans, your dreams, your strategies, and it might sound impressive. You might even convince yourself that speaking about them is the same as moving toward them. But the truth is, results are the only language the world truly respects. Words may inspire for a moment, but results inspire for a lifetime. People can argue with what you say, but they cannot argue with what you've done. The problem is when you rely on talking about what you're going to do, you enter a dangerous trap, the illusion of progress. You feel the rush of telling someone about your vision. You hear them say, "That's amazing," or "That's a great idea," and you get a taste of the recognition you're chasing. But that recognition is unearned, and it can rob you of the hunger that pushes you to turn those words into reality. By the time the real work gets hard, the excitement fades, and if you're not careful, you're left with nothing but promises you made to others and no energy left to keep them. Results speak differently. They are quiet, yet they echo far beyond the moment. You don't need to explain them, defend them, or convince anyone of them. They stand on their own. Results silence critics without you saying a single word. When people see what you've built, what you've achieved, they have no choice but to acknowledge it, even if they don't like you or believe in your methods. That's the power of proving through results. It turns doubt into respect without the need for arguments. Think of the countless people who have been underestimated, laughed at, or ignored, until they produced something undeniable. At first, no one believed in them, but they didn't waste time trying to persuade everyone. They worked, they sacrificed, they stayed up when others slept, and when they finally stepped forward with their results, the conversation changed instantly. The same people who doubted them suddenly wanted to know their secret. That's the shift that only results can create. Working toward results also forces you to build real substance behind your vision. It's easy to paint a picture with words, but results require structure, discipline, and consistency. They demand that you face problems, adapt to challenges, and solve issues instead of talking around them. Every step you take toward a result shapes you, sharpens you, and strengthens you in a way that no amount of talking ever could. The process of earning results is what transforms you from someone who wants to succeed into someone who is capable of sustaining success. Another important truth is that results outlive the moment you create them. Words can be forgotten in minutes, but tangible achievements leave a mark. A book written, a business built, a skill mastered, a goal completed. These remain as evidence, even when you're not in the room to defend yourself. They tell your story when you're silent. They inspire others without you ever meeting them. And they remind you of what you're capable of when you face your next challenge. There is also a certain satisfaction in knowing you didn't need to convince anyone along the way. You didn't spend months explaining your plan, seeking approval, or defending yourself against people who couldn't see your vision. You let your work do the talking. And when your results finally appear, they speak louder, clearer, and more convincingly than any speech you could have given. This is why results are a shield. They protect you from unnecessary criticism because they prove your worth in ways words never can. The world is filled with people who are quick to speak but slow to act. If you choose the opposite, to be slow to speak but quick to act, you immediately separate yourself from the noise. Your actions become your announcement, your work becomes your statement, and your results become your proof. And in the end, that proof is worth far more than any promise you could have made. Choose your audience wisely. Not everyone deserves a front row seat to your life, your dreams, or your struggles. The people you share your journey with can either lift you higher or quietly pull you down. The truth is, your audience shapes your energy. If you speak to the wrong people, they can drain your motivation, twist your story, and cloud your vision. But if you speak to the right people, they can fuel your determination, challenge you to grow, and help you see possibilities you didn't even know existed. This is why it's not enough to have people who simply listen. You need people who understand, respect, and genuinely want to see you win. The mistake many make is thinking that because someone is close to them, a friend, a family member, a co-worker, they automatically qualify as a safe audience. But relationships do not guarantee alignment. Someone can love you and still not understand your vision. Someone can care about you but still be stuck in a mindset that limits what they believe is possible for you. And if you're not careful, you can absorb their doubts without even realizing it. The danger is that these are often the voices you hear the most, and the more you hear something, the more it starts to feel like truth. The audience you choose also influences the quality of feedback you get. Share your dreams with someone who has never dared to pursue their own, and you will hear all the reasons why it can't be done. Share it with someone who has walked a similar path and overcome similar challenges, and you will hear the strategies, lessons, and encouragement you need to keep going. The difference between these two types of feedback can be the difference between giving up and pushing through. That's why your audience is not just a passive presence in your life. They actively shape your mindset. It's also important to remember that your audience is not just the people you speak to directly. It's the people you allow into your mental and emotional space. It's the voices you listen to, the opinions you entertain, the energy you let influence your mood. If you surround yourself with people who are constantly negative, competitive in a destructive way, or dismissive of big dreams, their influence will seep into your own thinking. But if you surround yourself with people who are solution-focused, growth-minded, and genuinely supportive, you create an environment where ambition can thrive. Choosing your audience wisely also means being willing to distance yourself from those who cannot handle your growth. Some people will support you as long as you remain at a level they're comfortable with. But the moment you start to rise, their attitude changes. They may feel threatened, insecure, or jealous. And instead of clapping for you, they will try to pull you back down to where they feel safe. If you notice this pattern, you must be willing to protect yourself, even if it means limiting contact or removing access altogether. The right audience doesn't just cheer for your wins. They also stand with you in your losses. They don't disappear when things get hard, and they don't turn your setbacks into gossip. They remind you of who you are when you forget. They push you when you feel like quitting. They celebrate your victories not because it benefits them, but because they genuinely want to see you succeed. These are the people who make your journey lighter, and having even one or two of them is worth more than a crowd of half-interested spectators. And here's the powerful truth. You don't need everyone to understand your vision. You only need the right few. The right audience will amplify your courage. The wrong audience will magnify your fear. The right audience will challenge you to become better. The wrong audience will convince you to stay where you are. Every time you speak about your goals, you are investing a piece of your energy into someone else's mind. Make sure that mind is a place where your dreams can grow, not a place where they will wither. The best stories are told when they're complete. There is a special kind of impact in telling a story that has reached its resolution. When the battles have been fought, the lessons have been learned, and the scars have healed, you can speak from a place of strength, clarity, and authority. A complete story carries a weight that an unfinished one never can. Because it's not just about what you hope to do. It's about what you actually did. It's proof. It's a journey with a beginning, middle, and end, and in that end lies the transformation that inspires others. When you tell your story before it's finished, you run the risk of sharing the messy middle without the resolution. People may see your struggle, but without the ending, they might not understand the purpose behind it. They could misinterpret your challenges as failures instead of seeing them as necessary steps toward victory. The incomplete picture can lead others to form judgments that don't reflect your true capabilities. But when you wait, when you tell the story after the final chapter is written, those same struggles are seen for what they really were, proof of your resilience, stepping stones to your success. A finished story also allows you to speak with a confidence that only comes from having lived through every stage. When you're still in the middle of your journey, there are questions you don't yet have answers to. You're still figuring things out, still wrestling with uncertainty, still adapting to the twists and turns. But once you've reached the end, you can look back and connect the dots. You can explain why certain doors closed, why certain hardships happened, and how each challenge prepared you for the next step. That perspective turns your story into a source of wisdom, rather than just an emotional outpouring. And make no mistake, timing is everything when it comes to storytelling. If you share too early, your audience might not fully grasp the value of what you're going through because they haven't seen the outcome. They can't see the strength you're building because it hasn't yet been tested to its fullest. They can't see the beauty in the process because the final picture hasn't yet been revealed. But if you share when the journey is complete, they see the whole arc, the problem, the struggle, the breakthrough, and the victory. That's the kind of story that sticks in people's minds and hearts. Waiting until your story is complete also protects you from unnecessary pressure. When you speak about your journey in progress, you invite expectations. People start watching, waiting, and sometimes even hoping for you to stumble. You may feel the weight of having to deliver on a timeline you didn't set, or you might feel judged every time you face a setback. But when you keep the story to yourself until it's done, you work in freedom. You're not performing for anyone, you're building for yourself. And when the moment comes to share, you do so on your terms, with no one else controlling the narrative. A complete story is also more valuable to others. Inspiration is powerful, but instruction is priceless. When you've finished your journey, you can share not only the highs and lows, but also the strategies, decisions, and mindset shifts that carried you through. You can guide someone else with clarity because you've already tested your path in real life. This turns your story into a blueprint, not just a motivational speech. People walk away not only feeling moved, but also equipped with something they can apply in their own lives. And perhaps one of the most satisfying things about waiting until your story is complete is the element of surprise. When you emerge with the results, people who doubted you have no room to argue. They can't dismiss your progress because it's already done. They can't say, "Let's see if you make it," because you've already made it. And that moment, when you reveal the full journey, with all its challenges and triumphs, is when your story becomes unforgettable.